No way. What? Oh. What? Head kick? UFC 294 has just went down. What the hell was all that about? It was an absolute disaster of a card before we even got started. We had 2 last-minute replacements in Kamaru, Usman and Alaxander Volkanovski. And then the card itself was all over the place. It was very uneventful. It was a bit lackluster. We had a doctor who didn't know what he was on about, saying that the fighter Victor Henry was faking the ball shot when he was clearly in excruciating pain and was actually on the way to the hospital to get an MRI scan or whatever it is that to get. And apparently he was vomiting aggressively. And then that same doctor ruined the Johnny Walker fight, which we'll get into in a minute. First off, one of the fights that I wanted to talk about that I completely forgot to on my predictions video because it was the first fight on the prelims and I must have just missed it, is Sharaputdin Magomedov, if that's how you pronounce his name. He is an upcoming prospect. He's 11-0. Some of you might remember his ugly face with his one eye. That's a question, actually. Has he actually got one eye, or can he see out of that eye? Because it brings back the memory of Bisping. You're not allowed to fight with one eye. So apparently he's partially blind in his right eye. That's interesting. I wonder how he passes the eye tests with the UFC. But anyway, he was fighting Bruno Silva. If you don't know Bruno Silva, he fought Alex Pereira, I think in Alex's second fight in the UFC, and give him a pretty tough fight. They went a full 3-round decision, or was it 5 rounds? I can't remember. It's been a long night. I'm not a hardcore analyst where it's all stored in my brain. But basically, this kid, you can see him on the right here, was extremely feared. People were thinking, damn, he's going to come into the middleweight division and absolutely tear through everyone. And what it looked like in the fight is he had good kicks, really good kicks. I've seen a few people say that he didn't have much power. I think he's got pretty decent power. As you can see here in the highlights, he's got good kicks, especially his inside low kick. And he had a good question mark kick, which is what he dropped Bruno Silva with. He had just enough boxing to get himself by. He was good in the clinch, but his takedown defense wasn't really there. Bruno Silva isn't really a takedown artist. He's not really a grappler. He's more so a striker. He puts it all together nicely, but Bruno Silva was hobbling on one leg after taking a lot of leg kicks by this Sharaputdin Magomedov. Could barely walk and was still able to get Sharaputdin down on the ground and was actually close to winning the fight. But as we all know, fights are scored based on damage. I'm just going to say Magomedov because I can't say his first name. When Magomedov got taken down, he was really good at delivering damage from the bottom. It was like he wasn't willing to accept just being taken down and being held there. He did not let Bruno Silva have a rest whatsoever. It's like, no, you're not just going to take me down and just lie on top of me. I'm going to hit you with elbows. Bah, bah, bah. I'm going to hit you with punches. And then there was even a moment where Bruno Silva, what am I on about, stepped back almost to disengage from the takedown. And then Magomedov kind of done like a cartwheel kick and hit him in the head twice. He done that. He's got a very kicking-based game. This is similar to how I fight, really. A lot of kicks. And it's quite unrelenting. I'd like to show you the actual fight from last night, but UFC will copyright strike us, so I've just got to show you highlights instead. So overall, it was a good fight, but I do think people in the middleweight division might be a little bit more relaxed now, knowing that, okay, he's dangerous, but if Bruno Silva can take him down and can also get some of his boxing off, then he's not actually that scary. Now, granted, he's 29, so he's still coming into his prime, and he is going to get better, so it's better to fight him now early on than further down the line. Has he got the potential to become a future champion? Maybe so. He definitely needs to plug up a few holes in his game, especially in that takedown defense, because I think he'll struggle when he gets to the top 10, the top 5, but as I say, he's going to get better, so it's going to be interesting watching him. Also, he's a bit of a divvy. He's a piece of work. We'll do another video on that another time, but he just goes up to random fellas in the street and attacks them for kissing the girlfriends. So I did kind of want to see him lose, but hey ho, it doesn't matter. Next, let's go to the Johnny Walker and Ankalaev fight. I've just got this playing in the background. So it's pretty interesting. Ankalaev is got pretty decent striking. I was saying in my predictions video that he's got really good kicks and he's got a really good right hook, but I did predict Johnny Walker to walk away with the decision. He was looking quite good. I think he was outstriking Ankalaev on the feet. He had more significant strikes. Ankalaev did get that body shot which collapsed that one right there, but Johnny Walker was faking it as far as we're aware. Then they went to this clinch position. Ankalaev got a few shots off, and then unfortunately he threw the illegal knee right there, as you see. That was pretty much the beginning of the end. Now, it did actually connect quite good. You can see it gets Johnny right on the chin. Johnny Walker didn't seem too rattled from it. You're still going to be rocked, so people need to understand there's a difference between being almost KO'd and then actually semi-concussed and just slightly rocked. You can get your brain rattled and not be wobbly on your feet and just be a little bit like dazed and a bit out of it, but still be able to fight on. Then this is where the doctor came in. Johnny Walker was clearly a little bit dazed, and then the doctor says to him, Where are we? Johnny Walker says, we're in the desert, and then is clearly ready to fight. You can see that he's not wobbly, he's not out of it, he's got his hands up, he's like, right, come on, let's go. And then the doctor calls it off and says, no, he's not ready to fight. Now, what I found a little bit confusing is that the referee waved it off in front of Johnny Walker, but he didn't recognise that. He was still kind of just looking through the referee. Maybe that's because he was a little bit dazed. Maybe there was a language barrier, because Johnny Walker speaks English, but granted, it's not going to be really, really good. I don't know where this doctor was from. Maybe he was American, maybe he was a bit Arabic or something. Big shout out to the Weasel for these screenshots. But as you can see, Johnny Walker was ready to go. That guy, that doctor, is meant to check for concussions, and he said that he's not ready just because he asked them the question of, where are we? The thing is, when he brought the doctor in, it was about 30 seconds after actually getting kneed in the chin, and then the doctor's asking him the question straight away. Johnny Walker's got the ability to rest for up to 5 minutes when an illegal blow like this happens. It's the same when you get kicked in the balls. It's the same if you get kneed as a downed fighter. You've got 5 minutes to recover. This doctor came in straight away and asked Johnny Walker, where are we? He said, we're in the desert. And then that was enough evidence for the doctor to call it off right there and then. Give the man his 5 minutes to actually recover. It's the same if you get kicked in the balls. The pain is the worst at the start. That's why they give Victor Henry the full 5 minutes to recover. Because it's like, okay, well, of course, when you get kicked in the balls, initially it's bad, but then the pain will fade. It's the same if you get concussed. Initially, you might have your brain a little bit rattled, but then after a little 5 minutes, the cobwebs might clear and you might be all right. So to do a concussion test and ask Johnny Walker where he is straight away, it's just not giving Johnny the opportunity to recover. And it's not like Johnny was trying to find his way out of the fight. He wanted to fight. It wasn't like an Aljamain Sterling situation where he got dropped and then was playing on it, going, rolling about for ages. Johnny was ready to go, and then once he found out the fight had been called off, he was angry. He was still trying to get at Ankalaev. He was trying to push past all the officials to continue the fight, and then Ankalaev had the nerve to be angry at Johnny. Even at the end, when it was declared a no contest, Ankalaev and Johnny Walker went to shake hands, and they got close, and Ankalaev pushed him away. Like, you're the one who done the illegal knee. Johnny also tried to continue to fight. It wasn't like he was playing on it. It was the doctor's fault. Also, no contest. When I was watching it live, I thought, right, okay, so that's a disqualification. If you kick someone in the balls, poke someone in the eye, or knee them whilst they're down in the head, and then the doctor comes in and stops it, that's a disqualification. It's not a no contest. I don't understand the rules, because there's been plenty of times where situations like these have been ruled disqualification, not a no contest. But anyway, they're going to run it back, so hopefully get that fight booked for maybe the end of the year. Next, we have Kamaru Usman versus Khamzat Chimaev. Wow, what a first round that was. Chimaev done what we pretty much expected them to do, just come out guns blazing, except in a grappling sense. He went at Usman and he controlled the fight for the entire first round. That was definitely a 10-8 round. I was on the edge of my seat. I did predict Khamzat to win, and I also said that I kind of want Khamzat to win, but I found myself in that first round actually 180ing on the opinion. I wanted Usman to win. I don't know what it was. There's something about rooting for the underdog that we all love. And I'm not trying to be biased here, but Khamzat got that first round 100%. It was a 10-8 domination. And then Usman won the second and the third round. Fights are scored on damage. This is what we have to remember. It's not like in the old days where you could just take someone down, lie on top of them, not really do anything, and win the fight. If you take someone down and don't do anything with it, it's not really scored that highly, and Khamzat done exactly that in the second and third. He took Usman down, but didn't do anything with the takedowns. Now, granted, we've just learned that Khamzat might have broken his hand in the first round. I think it was when Usman dumped Khamzat off the top of his shoulders, and I think Khamzat went to brace himself, and it might have been during that moment that he's hurt his hand. It's not officially confirmed yet, but he even said when we were watching it live, right, coming into the second round, Usman's going to start striking a lot more. He'll be able to defend the takedowns a little bit better, and he landed some pretty decent shots. Usman done more damage in the second and third than Khamzat did, but Khamzat had a little bit more control time. So how do you score it? Really, if you consider that first round a 10-8 round, then it should be a draw. If that first round was scored a 10-9 round, then Usman won. At the end of the fight, the commentators were saying it was pretty definitive that Khamzat won. I was sitting there like, can you say that? Really, after watching that fight, can you say, oh, Khamzat is amazing, he's great, he's going to dominate everyone, he's going to run through the division? Usman kind of exposed some holes in his game. Khamzat's good for one round. Look at the Gilbert Burns fight as well. He's very intense in that first round, and then that cardio kicks in. And I think this is the thing with Khamzat, is because he's so intense, because he's filled with rage, because he wants to kill everybody, I want to kill everybody, he comes out with a level of intensity that almost shoots himself in the foot a little bit. I think Khamzat, he's shown a little bit more maturity in last night's fight, but I think if he can pull back a little bit more on that intensity, he can definitely dominate the entire division. I think it's just a cardio problem, and he's got great cardio, but when you're there under the bright lights, you have the adrenaline dump, and you're finally facing the opponent who you've been training for so long, and there's been a last-minute replacement, and all these different variables, your cardio doesn't last as long as you think it would. You will always go harder in the actual fight than you do within training. Even if you're doing a lot of hard sparring, it still doesn't replicate the feeling of the actual fight itself. So Khamzat gets quite a bit of an energy dump after that first round. He hasn't got cardio problems, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the majority of that next level intensity takes place in that first round, then it tapers off a little bit. Usman as well, coming up from welterweight, and also he looked really good at middleweight. He didn't really even look that much softer than he is at welterweight. He was still shredded, his back was thick, he didn't look like a small middleweight at all. I'd kind of like to see him do a little bit of a run at middleweight. I forgot where I was up to, but I predicted Khamzat to win, and then my more specific prediction was by a second round stoppage, but obviously I got that wrong. He went the full distance, I just didn't predict that at all, but Usman looked really good in this fight. Also, his knees held up pretty well. I've done a video 2 days ago saying I don't think Usman will be able to get up after being taken down because of his knees, but he looked pretty decent, and he proved us wrong. Finally, the main event. Wow, mind blown. Who would have predicted that? I said Islam to win. I said either by decision, and then my secondary prediction was by a third round submission, rear naked choke. There was no way that Volkanovski was going to win this. Like, he had everything going for him in the first fight. He had a full training camp, he had no injuries, he wasn't coming off the back end of any surgery, he was training with Craig Jones, the BJJ expert. He put on the mask properly with his strength and conditioning program, and he still couldn't get it done against Islam. Granted, it was a very tough fight, and it was Islam's toughest fight to date, but the fact that he couldn't get it done then, and now Islam is a better version of himself, there was no way Volkanovski was going to get it done unless he just pulled out a big stoppage upset and was able to knock him out or choke him out or something like that. But I was saying during the whole build-up, Volkanovski doesn't get finishes, not even in the featherweight division, so the chances of him getting finishes in the lightweight division are even less significant. And this is the thing with Islam, his striking has been getting a lot better. We know him as a grappler. I said in my predictions video the other day, I'll always side with the striker over the grappler, despite the fact that I love grappling so much. So I was rooting for Volkanovski in this fight, but what we're seeing the last few fights, Islam isn't really grappling that much. Okay, he took Volkanovski down and that, but look at his last few finishes. We got Charles Oliveira, he knocked him down before he choked him out. That Volkanovski fight, Islam was piecing Volk up on the feet as well. Volk said, I underestimated Islam's striking. Islam underestimated Volk's wrestling. And then in this fight, Islam puts the argument to rest about if he can strike or not. He knocked Alexander Volkanovski out by a head kick KO. Is that the first time Volk has been stopped? Let's load it up right now. No, it's the first time he's been stopped since 2013. That's crazy. It's been 10 years on an unbeaten streak. He's done really good. I'm looking forward to seeing him go back down to featherweight and take on Ilia Topuria. Now, this is another thing. Is he going to be ready for it? Because he's just had a pretty brutal KO or TKO. I've seen a few people say, no, he didn't. It wasn't that bad. It was pretty brutal. He had a proper head kick to the top of his dome and then multiple follow-up punches by Islam. It's a pretty brutal way to go out. He's going to need some time off, but he's eyeing up January for this Ilia Topuria fight. I personally would like to see him take a little bit more time off, but we did see him in the post-fight press conference talk about his mental health. He's been struggling a little bit since not having any fights booked, and that's why he took this fight on last minute notice, because he's been struggling a bit. He started crying. He was getting upset. That just sparked another idea for the video. Maybe we could do a video on fighters and mental health, and no matter how tough you are, you can still go through problems. Let me know if you'd like to see a video like that. But there you go. What an event. It was all over the place. I wasn't really hyped for this event. Let me know in the comments down below, right, if you would like me to live stream these. Usually what I do is watch it the next day just because it's on so late. But if there's enough demand for it on the next big UFC event, I can live stream on YouTube so we can kind of do a watch party together. Obviously, I won't be able to stream the actual event itself, but I can stream myself like this, interact with you guys in the chat whilst you're watching it as well, and we can all talk together about our opinions of the fights as they're actually happening. If you want to see that, we'll make it a regular thing, because the first time you'd probably only get something like 20, 50 viewers, but we can eventually build it up to hundreds or even thousands further down the line and do a big massive watch party together. Okay, so let me know if you want to see that and comment your thoughts on last night's UFC. Pretty crazy. Make sure you subscribe for daily uploads, like this video, and I'll see you all tomorrow.